Okay, welcome back to the channel once again. It's been a while. Actually, it's been a long while since I posted on this channel, but today there's a bombshell on the timeline which says that Michael Edwards has resigned from his position as the chief of football at Liverpool Football Club. And this comes as sort of a shock to, I think, most people, including myself. I wasn't expecting to hear this news or to even talk about it at this point in the summer, because this is exactly the point where you don't want such news, or you don't want your top football executives to resign from their position, because this is where we want to bring in players who need to leave the club. We facilitate their exit from the club and try to have a good balance in our squad before we begin the season. But Michael Edwards is leaving. He has already resigned. I'm sure it is effective immediately, even though his statement that he released didn't actually say that. But I think it's effective immediately. We also know that Richard Hughes is set to leave the club after the summer. So the only reason why he's still here is probably because the time is going to be too short for a new sporting director to come in and try and work on incomings and outgoings. So that is why I think Richard Hughes is staying. But when you look at the whole situation, Michael Edwards came in, he was rehired after Jurgen Klopp announced that he was going to leave. Michael Edwards, brought in Richard Hughes. Richard Hughes brought in Slot. And this takes me back to Slot and the previous video that I did about Slot sacking. And in that video, I remember saying that I believe Slot sacking didn't come from Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, but it came from above them. The owners, or the people above Michael Edwards, were the ones who made the call, because prior to the news of the sacking, all the briefings that the journalists close to Liverpool were getting was that Slot was going to stay. And I believe that was true. The reason why I believe that was true is because I think those briefings were coming from Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards mainly. And they had no intention of sacking Slot. But then the owners thought otherwise. I think those above Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards thought it was time for Slot to go and we needed to go in a different direction. And I think that is how comes Slot was sacked. It came as we've heard, the news came as a shock to Slot himself. And I wouldn't doubt that, although most people don't believe that was the case. And I think it is related to the news that we are hearing today that Michael Edwards is resigning. I think it is very much related, whether it is because he believes the owners didn't do well by him, or he believes he hasn't done the right work, or he hasn't lived up to the billing. That is why he wants to resign. Or it could also be that he believes he hasn't been treated right. And in his statement, you would clearly see. Let me see if I can pull the statement somewhere here and read it to you. I think there is some sense of not following through with promises when it comes to the agreement he made with the Liverpool hierarchy and how it all turned out. I think he feels things weren't done right, and for some reason he's quite disappointed that things weren't done the way it was planned or the way that they agreed to do it. So he says that while the broader project ultimately evolved differently to how we had originally envisaged, I am proud of the work our team undertook in presenting ownership with a broad range of thoughtful and well-developed options for the future. I would like to thank Mike, John Henry, Tom Werner, and everyone across FSG and Liverpool for their support and friendship. And most importantly, the supporters whose passion makes this club so special. I will always be grateful to have been part of its story. So clearly, you can see that things played out differently from the way he expected things to go. And that could be one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why he is leaving. And I think the appointment of Slots and the sacking of Slots, the way in which it all came about, the sacking of Slots, most importantly, is something that didn't go down well. And I think there's a problem. Liverpool are in some sort of bad situation right now. It doesn't look good. On the transfer front, it doesn't look good. I'm not really hearing links to the kind of players that you feel these are realistic targets that we could actually get. And also, coming to the end of the season, we all knew we needed a very big surgery. And I'm not seeing enough movement to believe that that is going to happen this particular summer. So we might be in for a slightly uninspiring season ahead of us. I am not overly excited about this coming season. I'm not really looking forward to the season unless something changes between now and the beginning of the season. But from the way the squad is, the imbalance in the squad at the moment, the lack of signings. Also, we could explain the lack of signings with the fact that the World Cup is ongoing, and therefore it kind of affects the way in which transfers do go when the World Cup is being played. But I'm not very confident. That is my feeling. I'm not very confident that we'll be able to get all the things that we need to get done in time before the start of the season. The fact that we also have a new manager in the building, players have left like Konate, Mohamed Salah, possibly Joe Gomez, Alisson Becker. That is going to create a lot of instability, and that doesn't bode well for the next season. So I think one thing that we can rule out next season is challenging for the title. It is something that I think we can rule out. Possibly playing well, competing for top 4 or European finish is something that we can realistically hope for. Don't also forget that we will be playing in the Champions League, and therefore there's going to be a lot of games. And so we need bodies. That is for sure. It is non-negotiable that Liverpool need to bring in a lot more bodies. So we live to see whether that is going to happen. I'm not sure how many players we are going to bring in, because in my view, I think we need at least one more defender. Even if Joe Gomez is going to stay, because Konate has left. Van Dijk has only one more year remaining on his contract, and you would like to bring in someone to understudy him before he eventually leaves. In midfield, we need one more body in midfield. When it comes to the defensive midfield position, we don't have enough options to rotate. There's a possibility that Curtis Jones might end up leaving the club this summer as well. In the forward positions, on the right-hand side where Salah played, we need to bring in a replacement, possibly 2 players on that position. Don't also forget that we have a deficit when it comes to the number 9 position, because Hugo Ekitike is not available to start the season. We've brought in Munoz, and Munoz is going to be playing maybe on the right-hand side for now, but we still need another body in that position, possibly on the left-hand side as well, because Cody Gakpo, there are rumors going around that he might also leave. So there's a lot of work to be done, and this is not the time that you would expect your chief of football to leave his position. And also deal with the fact that the sporting director Richard Hughes is also leaving. So if we are giving our destiny into the hands of people or a person like Richard Hughes, whose skin is no more in the game, because basically he's going to leave at the end of the summer, so he has no skin in the game. he has nothing to lose. And I think that is quite risky to put the future of the club in his hands alone. So, in my view, someone should come in immediately to work together with Richard Hughes, if not to allow him to leave immediately, because I think that would be better for us. Someone who is going to be here for now and also in the future, because this is a bit of a mess for me. Thank you for watching the video. I'll catch you later on. Bye.